Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Merry Christmas. Rod here at A Better Way to Farm, where we increase yields and improve profits. We're going to do it a little different this year. We already started with nitrogen. I'm going to talk about boron. I normally did the biggies, the macros, NPK, then I've jumped into the secondaries and then did the micros. But something happened today, and I just have to listen to the whispers when God says, I want you to do this. And so I feel like over the course of the last 4 or 5 days, several things have happened that have lined the stars up, and this is where I want to be tonight. And, last year we did the deepest dive. We did the most work with the most books we've ever done. I'm not for sure when we started this. I know we did it in 2019. And so we've done it 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and this is 24. This will be our sixth go around at least. And I'm not sure about 2018. And guys, I encourage you, go back. I encourage you, go to A Better Way to Farm on Facebook because they're cataloged and you can go back and you can look at all of them. I talked to somebody that was in Sioux Falls with us this week, and he said he had just went back and picked out 22, and we tend to do them very different. We've historically, I've always thrown away my notes because I want to find new information, and I have some new information here. The reason for the boron was because of the fact that my daughter Kayla, who works with us, as you know, we are a family-ran operation. I love very much the opportunity to work with those girls and see the things that they learn and what they bring to the table. But tonight she called and she was kind of frustrated. She had a brand new grower that she just started working with in October, and he came to her with some stories. And guys, let me say this. One of the things that he said was that he had been scared to reach out, that he didn't feel like he was worthy. Guys, we want to talk to all of you. I promise you, you text Karen at 641-919-5570. You reach out to us. Someone from the team will be contacting you, and it will happen very, very quickly. But this individual that was talking to Kayla was sharing that last year, for the first time, he used some boron. And what happened was his consultant, his salesman, told him just to take this boron and apply it in the seed trench. Guys, that's the number one rule of boron. Don't do that. Don't do that. And tonight, I'm not going to give you as much information as I am going to try to dispel some massive, disgusting misinformation that's out there, because my heart is really heavy when I start looking around. I went to Dr. Google tonight, and a lot of times I don't do that. I don't know why I did, but when this individual was talking about the fact that his salesman said, here, try some boron, and you guys know try some is not scientific. It's code for I need commission, so you should buy this, okay? It's not scientific, try some. We're going to say when you need to use boron, it's because the soil test said that your levels were below 0.8 parts per million, and we know that's the critical break point where you're going to suffer a yield decrease if you don't have that. And 95% of us in America don't have adequate boron in the soil. So he took this guy's word, he went out, he applied his boron in the seed trench, and he absolutely hammered his stand. And guys, I did this by accident once. Some of my best test plots were things that I did when I didn't mean to. I applied boron in the seed trench one time, and I took a final stand count from 28,000 down to about 14,000 just by the misapplication of boron. When this farmer went to the person that convinced him to put the boron in the seed trench, which is a giant no-no, I'm going to say that 43 times tonight. That's misinformation that I want to make sure you don't think about. He went to him and his seed says, well, you should have diluted it with 3 gallons of water. Well, my best guess is, and I don't know the full story, I don't know how you could apply a pint or a quart of boron by itself and get it evenly spread. He had to dilute it with something. But guys, I'm here to suggest that there is no amount of dilution that can put boron in the seed trench and make it safe. One of the things I really dislike is this has got every micronutrient in it you need. It's got zinc, manganese, boron, the kitchen sink, a little bit of Drano, and everything you need to grow corn on every acre. And it's the same thing you need. It's the same thing the guys in Texas need. Guys, that's not true. It's just not true. And the fact of the matter is, if it's got boron in it and they tell you to put it in the seed trench, one of two things is going to happen. One, it is not going to work. Why? Because there's such a low amount that it won't impact anything. Therefore, you get no response. Two, they have enough to get the impact, to get the amount. Now you're going to decrease your stand because boron is going to smoke germ every single time. One of the big problems with boron is the fact that the lost yield takes place way before visual deficiencies. In other words, in the event that you see it, if you see that yellow on the tip and then it running yellow right down the middle of the center of the plant, it's too late. The typical loss there is 15 to 20 bushels after you've already noticed that. Let's just talk about micronutrients in general for a minute. I'm working here out of the agronomy handbook from Midwest Labs. And here are the conditions that are conducive to a deficiency. And let me see if any of these think you might apply to you. Removal of large amounts of high-yielding crops. Have any of you guys been taking off some maybe bigger yields than you used to? Maybe your yields were 100 bushel bigger than they were 10 years ago, 150 bushel bigger than they were 20 years ago, and you've taken this all off. Maybe you've put on a lot of phosphorus, because that's another thing here. The addition of high rates of phosphorus are conducive to all micronutrients being deficient. Maybe you've had some cool, wet growing conditions. That's a good time to have micronutrients be very deficient. Guys, it's amazing to me. I go out and I talk to people and I listen to their other consultants saying, man, you don't want to use starter because you're going to bleed down the levels in your soil. You're going to deplete your soils. And then you come back and they say to them, well, what about boron? What about zinc? Well, no, those are fine. So you're worried about bleeding down my phosphorus or bleeding down my potassium every single year. I'm going to train wreck that in 1 year. But the fact that I haven't put boron on ever since they started farming this ground 150 or 200 years ago, I haven't used a single micronutrient in that entire time. And somehow those are fine. I'm a little wound tonight because I think this grower up in Michigan got hurt really bad and my heart breaks for him. And I talked to guys at Sioux Falls who are going through the same thing. And the misinformation that's out here is just enormous. So what I have here is this is a photo that I found. And this was the most common one that was shown so you could look and see if you have a visual boron deficiency. I would like to suggest to you that if you get to this stage, you have lost thousands and thousands of dollars. Guys, that's appalling. The first thing we want to do is we do the tissue test. And that goes hand in hand with this little publication here that I ripped off the internet tonight. This was put out by Iowa State University, who generally I like a lot of what they do. This statement I'm not fond of. Boron deficiency is rare in corn. It has not been verified in Iowa. I'm not sure what to say to that. Boron deficiency has not been verified in Iowa. What rock are you living under? Guys, we pull tissue tests, and nearly every tissue test that we pull comes back as low or deficient. We have guys pulling in the last 4 weeks. I have no idea how many tens of thousands of acres our team has had sent in for soil testing. And with the exception of 2 guys, everybody was deficient in boron. And it didn't matter if you, somehow being in Iowa does not make us magic. It doesn't. We are not exempt, okay? We are just like everybody else in our boron deficiencies. And wherever you're living, I'm guessing your boron is deficient. So it went on to say, boron deficiency, it says leaves have small dead spots and they are brittle. This part is true. Boron is not readily translocated in the plant, and as a result, the upper internodes do not elongate. Tassels and ear shoots are reduced and may not emerge. Corn is very sensitive to boron fertilizer. Boron toxicity can result if it's applied at rates above recommendations or if it's row applied. Deficiency is favored by drought, sandy soils that are low in organic matter and high pH. Those are all true. But guys, yes, because drought does reduce the release of boron from organic matter, lack of water also delays your shoot emergence and possible pollination. So you can confuse those. But guys, here's the thing. Their symptoms are true. How do they know so much about the symptoms if it's never been seen? If they've never seen it, they sure seem to know a lot about it. Guys, this is maddening because the fact of the matter is this single nutrient is costing the American farmer tons and tons and tons of money. What are the things we know about boron? We know that it doesn't translocate. Once it goes into the plant, wherever it goes, it stays. Now in the soil, it's negatively charged, it runs away, just like nitrogen, just like sulfur, it will run away from us. And so therefore, we have to go ahead and make sure we have it available throughout the growing season. I personally do not like to front load all of my boron. We've done some testing in our own test plots and found out that multiple applications can produce significant yield increases. So we see a lot of our guys say, all right, I'll put some on pre-emerge with my chemicals, or I'll put some on in a 2x2 band if I'm banded my nitrogen, or a 4x4 band if I'm banded my nitrogen. And then I can put some on when I come in and I do my post-emerge chemical spray. And then I can come back when I side dress or when I wide drop, and I can put some more in there. And maybe even with the fungicide, I might put a little bit in when I get down to that point in time. But the fact of the matter is, guys, we know multiple applications are better. But the jury is not out on this. We know that high potassium increases the need for boron. We know that we need a continuous source because it doesn't translocate in the plant. So we want to put on multiple applications. We know that 0.8 parts per million is the break point. Guys, these are things that you can grab your soil test and look at right now. And if you look at your soil test and it's less than 0.8, you need boron. If you look at your soil test and it doesn't have a boron test on it, you need a new agronomist. I'm just going to be real blunt and honest. One of my new goals here is to just tell the truth and stop worrying about who gets angry. And there will be people who will take issue with this, and there will be people who are frustrated or upset, and that's okay. We don't all have to agree. It'd be a boring world if we all drove a blue pickup and wore the exact same Christmas sweater. So I'm okay with that. I just want us all to be civil. But guys, what I'm sharing is the stuff that we have learned over 32 years of continually doing. It was funny. I was walking with Preston through the meeting building the other day, and Preston said, Rod, I just ran across one of those guys that you talk about. And I said, what's that? He said, this guy said that he had 30 years of experience just like you did. But he said, when I got to talking to him, what he had was the exact same experience, 30 consecutive years. And that is not the same as 30 years of experience. 32 years of reading everything you can get your hands on. 32 years of working in the fields. 32 years of doing thousands and thousands of plots is not the same. And guys, I want you to reach out. 641-919-5570. Go through the program. Just take a look and see what's there that might help you. Because we're in a time, guys, when perhaps the thing that needs to change is us. One of the things that we know, I'm just going to share here. I got to find this because this is not news. I'll save that for just a minute. I want to run just a little bit out of some of the books here and talk just a skosh about some of the things that some of these other guys have to say. And one of them is I want to work on out of Neil Kinsey's book here, and it's on page 179. And this is Neil writing. He says, according to the University of Illinois Extension, 2 pounds of boron will kill corn. You see, I just keep seeing this. I keep seeing everybody talking about, for everything you can find on a deficiency, you can find 10 articles on how you're going to kill it. You can find 10 articles on being toxic. And we're also scared that it's going to be toxic that we just don't look at it. According to the U of I Extension, 2 pounds of boron will kill corn. This grower, used 4 pounds of actual boron to the acre, and if he couldn't get it on any other way, he would hire an airplane to fly it on. He said it made him more corn. When asked exactly what 4 pounds of boron did for him, he said, well, it makes the cobs longer. It looked like the ears actually got longer because it filled them all the way to the end and put a kernel on the tip. That's Neil writing on some of his experience, who also has been in thousands and thousands and thousands of fields. From the soil up on page 200, that's Donald Schrieffer's writing. The only thing I'm going to shout out here is this. Boron plays several key roles within the plant, including pollen viability, good seed set, normal terminal growth, photosynthesis, the movement of sugars. It is one of the most neglected of the trace elements because too often its importance is related only to tuber crops or alfalfa. It is a serious mistake to believe that boron is not needed for common farm crops such as corn or soybeans. And he says, yes, it's true. Boron can be toxic, and especially if we have really ultra low calcium, and certain crops are more sensitive to that. But guys, you don't have to worry about that because there's a soil test and a tissue test that will tell you what you need to do there. And the fact of the matter is, we know there are all kinds of deficiencies, and we know that we don't want to be deficient because of all of the different things that it does. When we start taking a look at the life and energy here on page 43 with Dr. Anderson, and he writes, hunger sign is a yellowing that starts at the tip and moves along the middle of the leaf. This is so you can see it visually. But know this, when you see it visually, you've lost 15 bushel. This is actually a carbohydrate and boron deficiencies under circumstances similar to the alleged potash deficiencies. Oftentimes, guys, those get confused, and we think that they're the same when they're not. Guys, what does it do? What things do we get out of boron? We get carbohydrate and water metabolism. We need those. Guys, we talk over and over and over how to help drought-proof your crop. And we drought-proof our crop by not using high-salt fertilizer. Why is that? Because high-salt fertilizer and too much nitrogen do what? They cause plasmosis. What is that? It's the opposite of osmosis. Osmosis is the water moving into the plant. Plasmosis is the water being sucked out of the plant back into the soil. So how do we drought-proof our crop? We make sure we're not creating an environment where plasmosis is likely to happen. Then the next thing that we do is we make sure that plant isn't out there foraging and growing roots and starving and trying to find some nutrient that it needs, and in the process wasting a lot of water because it's sucking it up. Guys, true or false? Plants eat. That's false. That is not true. They do not have teeth. They do not chew. Everything goes into the plant in the form of a solution. And so therefore, when we're trying to get that plant to drink and drink and drink so it can get something to eat, all of a sudden we can waste a lot of water. What else does it do? It's cell division. It's important for cell division. It's important for protein synthesis. It's important for seed development. It helps blooms in soybean. It creates pollen and extra tassel in a corn plant, and it creates extra silk. So if you're not interested, if you think you don't need any more blooms, if you think you don't need any silk, if you think you don't need any type of pollen there, then maybe this product isn't for you. But the fact of the matter, guys, it is. It's super important. And one of the things that one of the authors, I don't know which one now it was, talked about, but it was somebody that was, this is in a book that was written 50 years ago. Listen closely, please. 50 years ago, they had it figured out that mycorrhiza fungi flourish in the presence of adequate boron. And in the presence of not adequate boron, they do not do well. We're seeing a lot of people now starting to sell bugs in a jug. People are selling you mycorrhiza out there to go put on. And will it work? Maybe. Probably. Because if we've done everything wrong and we've punished our mycorrhiza populations, then we probably would get a response. But I have a question. Why, perhaps, instead of spending a bunch of money every year to buy mycorrhiza, maybe I should spend a little money and I should apply adequate boron, because that will allow the mycorrhiza to flourish while simultaneously helping my plant to have better pollen, to have better silk, to get better ear fill, to set more grain, to get more blooms, to better utilize water, to better utilize sugars. Guys, as we go through this year, one of the themes is going to be the fact that everything matters. Everything interacts with everything else. Last time on day one, we talked about Mulder's ball. And the fact of the matter is all these nutrients have interactions, and too much of one hurts something else. Not enough of one may hurt something else. But when we can get all of those at the optimum levels, miracles happen. Just farming is a miracle. Getting to see that from start to finish, from the day you buy the cows to the day the baby calf is born, from the day you plant that crop to the day that you get to harvest it, and watching that whole process is a miracle of nature. And when we can do the things that we can do to help that, it can work a lot better. The fact of the matter is, guys, life isn't that hard. We just got to figure out how it works and get on the right side of it. And my heart is really heavy tonight because I've ran into too many people in the last 2 or 3 weeks. On the one thing that makes it heavy is the number of people who are scared, who are uptight, who are standing here going, are we standing in 1980? And I don't know. But I understand being concerned. I'm understanding being concerned that we still got $8 inputs and we still got $3.96 corn. That's legit. Okay? I understand the concern when people are saying, hey man, something has to change. And you're right, it does. And you know what has to change? you and me. John Deere's not going to change the price of their tractors. IH isn't going to change the price of their tractors. It would appear to me that nobody in the seed corn industry lowered their prices this year. Several of them went up. Yes, our fertilizer prices have went down, but we're getting pressure from our raw material suppliers that I don't like. I don't know how that's going to end up. I mean, we took some 25% decreases on multiple products here in the last 6-8 months, and I feel good about that. I'm just worried the raw material people are going to come and want part of it back. So I understand the concern, but here's what I know. We can flourish. Just like we can help that crop flourish by doing all the right things, we can flourish by doing all the right things. When we're willing to take that soil test and take a look at NPK and the secondaries and the micros, and when we're willing to say we're not concerned with what's easy. I made some new friends this week, John and Jerry, who I really enjoyed getting to know, Lisa and David. It's amazing. There were so many great people there that I just absolutely love getting to talk to and spend time with. But, you know, they were talking about the fact that some of their best management tools are things that require a little bit more effort. Maybe it's an extra trip to side dress. Maybe it's, you know, we don't blow everything on in October and just call it good. You know, we're out here actually working and managing and doing the best that we can. And I had 3 or 4 different people come up to me and they just said, we have flat made a decision. We are not looking for more acres. We are looking for more money. Show us how to get $100 an acre, how to get $50 an acre, how to get $30 an acre extra net money out of what we're already farming. Guys, a lot of the people watching this are farming 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. You're in the middle somewhere and you're farming 2,500 acres and you figure out how to make another $50 an acre. That's $125,000 net income. That's what we're talking about. And using these micros is key. And guys, this boron product, knowing that the availability goes to nothing when the pH gets too high, knowing that the drought makes it hard to come up with, knowing that we've used boron in our crops forever, knowing that it's negatively charged and it runs away, knowing that we used to get it in the form of acid rain and we don't do that anymore, knowing that 98+% of the acres of the soil tests that we look at are deficient. It's time to come into the year of 2025 and let's ring it in right. Let's pull a soil test and let's stop listening to the old wives' tale, the urban myth that, oh, boron's toxic, you don't want to do that. Based on what? Base it on a soil test, base it on a tissue test and say, yeah, I do want to do that because not only can it be toxic if it ever gets too high, which we don't see, but more importantly, we are literally starving our plants to death and we're starving our mycorrhiza to death. And so let's get out here. Let's do the right thing. Let's do what these people knew years. I'm not reading any new books here, guys. I don't even know what year all of these were written, but some of these are, I mean, these are old enough now already that they're falling apart because I've read them and reread them. But as we start looking at all of these different publications and how old they are, this isn't new stuff, people. This was copyrighted in '84. This is 40 years old. Some of these are older than that. We've known for 40 years that this is the deal, but nobody wanted to talk about it. The next 10 days, we're going to talk about it. And yeah, we're pretty jazzed up. Why? The future of agriculture, the future of me getting to pass this farm on to my kids and on to my grandkids is dependent upon me making the right decisions. So guys, I went a little longer than I intended. I hope that you find value in what we do. If you're interested in more about us, you can go back and watch some of the other 12 Days of Nutrients. You can look at 23 was really in-depth out of the books. And guys, we just appreciate you so much. The holidays are a blessed time. I'm super excited. And I hope you guys are getting ready to get into the Christmas spirit. I know everybody's still working hard and getting ready. But thanks for tuning in. Guys, I hope you guys are having a super holiday. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. And we'll look forward to coming back at you with day 3 soon.